My dearest brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I want to explore the downfall and the degradation of the Muslim Ummah, and also at the same time of the third world countries in Africa and Asia. Basically, that's where most of the calamity happened. While they were successful, the rulers did not pay attention to the long-term survival. They got into intoxication of women, gambling, alcohol, luxuries, and so on and so forth. They were rulers for themselves, but they were not the rulers of the Muslim Ummah or the third world countries. They never were. And hence the decline. One example is the Mughal Empire in India from 1536 to 1847. They ruled with impunity. They ruled. They made a lot of progress, and India became one of the richest countries in the world. One thing about the Mughal ruler is they never took the money out of the country. Whatever they earned, they spent it for the welfare of the people, unlike some other people, unlike the colonial powers of Britain, France, Spain, Portugal, and France, and so on and so forth. Why were these countries occupied by the colonial powers? I've given you a hint of it. And another reason which came to my mind is the colonialists, when they went to Africa, for example, they started a new game, a game of divide and rule. And the same thing happened in Asia, of course. In India, we know the history, and I've repeated it time and time again. Most of the Africa is based on the tribal system. Even in one country, you will have, in Nigeria, for example, there is 25, 30 different tribes. You go to Philippines, and there are many tribes there. And in Philippines, perhaps it's the only country, or one of the few countries where about thousands of languages are spoken, but they have a common language, Tagalog, where they can communicate. I had a client, the wife and the husband, they speak two different languages. They come from different parts of Philippines. That's not the issue. The language does not make any difference. It should not make a lot of difference. They were given the idea of one tribe were pumped up and say, you've been exploited by the other group, and made them fight amongst themselves and create the hatred. If not fighting, the hatred. And they divided the country. Africa used to be one continent. Never had, apart from a couple of kingdoms, never were divided the way it is divided now. Perhaps 50, 60 countries, I don't know, I can't. Let somebody know, find out and let me know how many countries there are. Not there are few. They could be united. For example, 3 or 4 countries can have the same culture, or rather different culture, but very small difference between them, which can be accommodated. With goodwill, it can be accommodated. And if you got a goodwill, many things can be done. Many things can be done and can be corrected. But who's going to tell these people, the rulers especially? New wave of almost all the countries in Africa are free now, but that freedom is very notional. All the resources are still owned and controlled by the colonial power and the Host countries are only getting about 5% benefit. 5% benefit. And the 95% of the honey is pumped away by the colonial powers. Recently, a Marde Mujahid, we say the nobleman, only, he's a captain only. He took over the power in Guinea-Bissau. Is it Guinea-Bissau? Yes. And started the reforms. He brought in a lot of tractors and machineries and asked the people, gave it to the people and say, okay, produce as much food as you possibly can. And they not only have enough food for themselves, they are exporting it. And there are many other projects he started. But the West do not like him. And why would they like him? Nobody wants to cut his own jugular vein and let somebody else flourish. That is the calamity. This is how the colonial powers rule on you. Not only they divide and rule, but they oppress you in such a way that you become beggars. And you become demoralized in a way, yes. Beggar and demoralized. And demoralization is one of the greatest sin and the greatest disease one can acquire. You can have pneumonia, you can have fever, you can have something. You can be diabetic, you can still survive. But it's very difficult to survive out of the slavery. When your mind has been enslaved, your body has been enslaved, your mentality, your thought, your philosophy has been compromised. You have no way of freeing yourself. And my idea now is, as I said earlier on, if 3 or 4 countries get together and make one country, but the ego will come in the way. I know that. That ego has to be put aside for the benefit of the ummah, benefit of the people. That ego has to be set aside. In fact, it has to be thrown in the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans and the Indian Oceans, because some of the countries are very close to Indian Ocean. That is the message for today, and I hope some of our leaders, like our brother Traore, Ibrahim Traore, they learned the lesson. He's making a lot of progress. From a beggar, he has created a country into the exporters of many things, which I cannot mention here, and you know it. If you follow the story, then you know what he's done. There is a danger. The colonial power will not tolerate him, and they don't tolerate. They did not tolerate Saddam, Gaddafi, and many other people. They don't tolerate. But I hope the time has moved along, and these kind of innuendos, these kind of intrigues will not succeed, because the people, when you have the people on your side, you may be able to survive longer than what they expect you to do. But they will still try their best. This is their habit. You bring a snake at home, you give him milk, you feed him on milk, it will still bite you. And believe me, that's exactly what happens. And these people, the colonial powers, are no less than a snake. In fact, much worse than that. A snake will die, but these people don't die. My brothers and sisters, let us hope and pray and encourage these people to be free from these shackles of the slavery. Not only the physical slavery, but the economic slavery. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.